What is up, everybody at Investor Thrive Nation? This is the Painless Wholesaling Podcast, where our goal is to make real estate investing painless for you. I know that's difficult to say because you got to go through some pain to learn, but we're going to do our best to bring on top talent, top people in the industry to let us know what you can expect, what you can avoid in your journey to invest. So right now we got Nathan Turner, the Canadian note guy. All right. What's up, Nathan?
Good. Very good. Very good. How are you doing?
Oh, I love it. I'm doing great. Nathan, that's a great name. Did you go by Nate? Nathan, is it Nathaniel? A lot of
I was
people,
going to ask you. I go typically Nathan. If people call me Nate, whatever, just call me. I don't care what you call me. Just
that's
call me.
how I am. People are like, you like Nate? I'm like, I don't really care. It's whatever you want.
Sure.
Sure, if you want that. And Nathaniel, are you Nathaniel or is it just a Nathan?
No, just Nathan.
Same here. You know, I
Yeah.
had a friend that was Nathaniel, but I don't think I've met that many Nathaniels.
No.
So yeah, it's good to talk to you. This is the first time we're meeting, but I love connecting with investors throughout the United States. But you're in Canada, and I also like Canada.
Yeah.
My wife is actually Canadian, and
Okay.
she's from Toronto. She's if you've been out there, she's
My wife is from Toronto as well. There you go.
wow. What do you know? Is she like actually in Toronto, or is it around the surrounding areas?
She was. She lived most of her life in Scarborough,
Oh, okay. I'm not
Northfield,
familiar with
Scarborough.
Scarborough, but my wife grew up in Lindsay, if you know where that is, like
Okay.
Peterborough,
Yeah. Yeah.
Whitby
Yeah.
area. I think Scarborough, that's probably not even that far from there. Is that like
It's
north
like
of Toronto or
it's
west?
like
Or
northeast. Yeah,
oh,
northeast Toronto. Yeah.
well, look at that. Small world,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
Very
Well,
cool.
you tell me you do notes. I know a little bit about notes, but I haven't dove into them yet. Tell me what's the appeal of buying notes versus I guess flipping a house.
I got started by flipping houses,
Okay.
and then I really enjoyed doing that. It was a lot of fun,
Mhm.
but it's a lot of work, and it's blood, sweat, and tears kind of thing. I went from that. I ended up being a landlord for a little bit, and I really did not enjoy that at all. I really liked the cash flow, but everything else about it was terrible.
What do you have?
So,
Did you have some bad experiences?
well, it was on the other side of the country. There was one guy in that town that was my property manager,
Ooh.
and he was awful. Like every single month, I had to call him up and be like, "Hey, did we get paid this month? Like, what's going on?" Mid-month, and he's like, "Oh yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. I just got to do some paperwork. I'll send you out your payment." So I'd get it like third week of the month, every month.
Oh
We went through
gosh.
this routine, and I'm like, "This is ridiculous." And
That
then
is
people would
ridiculous.
move out. It was more economical for me to actually fly out there on the other side of the country with a suitcase full of tools, do
Oh gosh.
repairs. Like it was a ton of work, and I was like, "Why do people do this? Why, why do
Sounds
people do
terrible.
rentals?" Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't like it. I
Wow.
didn't like it.
Well, it makes
But yeah,
sense. I wouldn't do it if I had to do that either. I'd be out in a second.
but that's what I love about notes is it's that the piece that I did like about being a landlord was that monthly income.
Mhm.
So I get all the benefits of the monthly income without any of the headaches. That's when you're talking about painless real estate investing.
Now that's
Ideally,
painless.
the best case scenario, I never actually own the real estate,
Yeah.
which sounds crazy, but I own the paper that's attached to the real estate.
Right. Yeah,
In
you're
the
the
perfect
bank,
world,
correct?
yep, yeah, and then in perfect world, I'm never gonna own that property.
And you don't gotta worry about the repairs, the people calling you. My gosh, that
Tenants,
sounds
toilets,
wonderful.
trash, none of that's my problem. I'm the bank. Banks
Now
don't fix roofs. It's not what we do.
now if someone doesn't make that payment or has a very bad property, you basically can foreclose on that, right? If they're not making their payments?
That's it. So every loan that I buy, every note is backed by the real estate. So if something goes haywire and the person stops paying, that's always kind of my ultimate recourse is to take back that property.
And the payments you're getting is the interest on the note, correct? Or the principal and the interest, or how does that work?
Yeah, principal and interest. So it's a regular monthly payment. And then just like your own mortgage, you pay a little bit more principal, a little less interest every month, but it's that same payment. The payment stays the same, but the split changes every month because it's a percentage over time. So that's what I'm collecting. So it's principal and interest over time, amortized usually somewhere between 20 and 30 years, typically. And then I can just collect on that for as long as I hold that loan.
Do you create the notes yourself, or are you buying ones that are already created?
Usually, I'm buying ones that are already created. The cases where I'm creating a note is if I took back a property and then I'm selling it. I'll usually sell it on terms. I'll do some kind of seller finance, creative finance, whatever you
Right.
want to call it, and sell it on terms and then hang on to a brand new note.
Man, I like the sound of that. So
Yeah.
so you're buying these. Who's selling these notes? Who's selling all these things?
So I most of the time I'm buying like indirectly from a bank. Typically, the bank will have these loans and they'll sell for all kinds of reasons. Sometimes it's because people are not making payments. Sometimes it's just because they're selling them just to move things around
Hmm.
and to generate cash and, recapitalize, go out and do other things. But they'll sell them to like larger hedge funds. I'm a smaller hedge fund, so I don't have enough money to do those $100 million purchases. So
Mm.
I let the big guys do that, and then the big guys will sell to somebody like me, where I can buy, one at a time if I want to.
So for someone like me or any of my listeners that are brand new to investing, well, I'm not
Yeah.
brand new, but for them, would they be able to just buy a note right now, or do you have to go through some red tape? Do you have to be a hedge fund? Do you have to like show that you can perform? How does that work?
So structure wise, no, you don't need anything special. You don't even need to live in the country. I live in Canada and I do this in the US. But structure wise, no, you don't need anything special. What you do need is some education, because this is not real estate. It's real estate related. So it's got
Mm.
some elements of real estate, but it's not real estate. So you got to make sure you understand the finance part of it, and then the finance world and the rules and regulations that go along with that kind of thing.
Tell me some things that they got to understand. I know you said you got education. I know you have a seminar coming up, but what would you say like, hey, you got to watch out for this?
Even things like, just for example, let's say in the state of Georgia, they're notoriously bad for this, where if you buy a loan that's already existing, you have to, in the state of Georgia, you have to register as a debt collector, even
Mm.
though that doesn't exactly apply, but that's how they see it, and so you need to have that license. One loan can get you in trouble, so it's not
Wow.
just like, oh, it's just a one-off. And that's just Georgia. Every state is a little bit different. About half of the states require licensing, some don't. And if you're creating notes, there's ways to do that. There's a bill that came into effect in 2013 called Dodd-Frank. You got to know your ins and outs of that and what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do, things like that. It's a learning curve for sure. It's none of it's rocket science, but it's a learning curve. So you just got to make sure you know the rules.
How many people are buying and doing this notes with no not like and messing things up?
It's the worst offenders are the people that are creating notes. That we've run into a whole bunch of those guys, and they're doing a great job. And I love what they're doing. I love the hustle, but so many of them are just not going through the proper channels. They're not doing it exactly the way you're supposed to do it, and it's all fixable. It can be dealt with and it can be corrected, but it's just a lot easier if it's done correctly the first way.
Yeah, I was talking to someone about notes the other on one of my other podcasts, and he was saying that there's so many issues that arise if you create notes the wrong way, and a lot of people use like a title company or attorney friend they think knows what he's doing, and they
Yeah.
just do it wrong. So very
And there's
interesting.
resources for all of that stuff. Like, it all exists, and it's like I say, it's not rocket science. You just got to learn it.
So tell us about your seminar. Why would someone like me or anybody in the audience like what why would they? Where is it, by the way?
This is in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about, what would cause someone to, be like, "Yeah, let's check out this seminar." What can we expect to learn?
So this is, first of all, it's a total, it's no selling, no pitching. Nobody on stage is allowed to sell anything, which
Wow.
my conference, my rules, and that's my rule.
Yeah, it's a
So
good
it's
rule.
all education. People are coming, speakers from all over the country, talking about different aspects of notes. So anything from creating notes, raising money to be able to create notes, or just buy notes, how to buy them, how to price them, what you're looking for, the goods, the bads, attorneys. If and when you do need an attorney to do a foreclosure, we've even got a special one where how to choose the correct attorney to do whatever it is that you're specifically looking to do. So
Hmm.
it's anything and everything that you would need to know about notes just to get started. It's probably not comprehensive enough for you to become an expert in 2 days,
Of course.
but it'll give you some great information and an indication of where you want to go. Because in notes, you can do so many different things. There are so many different avenues and preferences that people have, and so it's a lot of fun.
So if someone's want to start working with notes, do you recommend just skipping? Well, I wouldn't say skipping, but let's say most people think they need to start fixing, flipping, or rentals, or wholesaling, or that, right?
Right.
Would you say, hey, you can just go straight into notes, forget all that?
Absolutely. It's interesting when I talk to people. Most people that get into notes come from a real estate background,
Hmm.
but if you come from a finance background, that's a plus.
Oh,
That's
wow.
actually better. Or we've got a lot of engineers. A lot of engineers get into notes. I think just because it's rules and steps, and engineers love that kind of thing. So a bunch
Right.
of engineers get into this as well.
What's the downside of owning all these notes? Is there a downside? Like, the economy crashes, like, what is it the same downside as, like, a flipper that can't sell his house? Like, yeah, what's the downside?
So here's the cool thing. So when the economy's doing well, I do well. When the economy's doing poorly, I actually do better.
Mm,
And the reason being is I got started in 2008. By 2010, I was buying all non-performing notes. So nobody was making a payment in that property. They just, a lot of the time they were vacant. People had just abandoned
wow.
it and took off. In that case, I can actually get a bigger discount when I'm purchasing. So my upside is actually a lot bigger. So that's really cool. Now the downside.
Do you have to
Uh,
make the payments though, I'm assuming, when you
no,
buy the notes?
I'm the bank. So
Oh.
once I buy it, I bought it outright
Oh, you
from
bought it outright. Okay,
the
you're
bank,
not
and then
got it.
now I'm now the bank. So no extra payments being made or anything like that.
Mm, mhm.
Downside on this is it's a trade off because, like I said, I didn't like being a landlord, but I get the appreciation of that property. So as long
Mm.
as I'm holding that over time, generally real estate appreciates. With a note, it's a depreciating asset. So I don't have any of the headaches that I need to worry about with owning a property, but I don't get any of the appreciation either because I don't own that property.
Has that been tough for you on some of these where you've just seen you bought it in 2008, 2010 or whatever, and it's gone up and it's probably worth double now?
There's times where I look at that and I go, "Oh shoot," but all in all, you know what? I would way rather not deal with any of the headaches, and
Wow.
it's so hands off on a performing note. On a non-performing, there's work involved, and there's a very good chance you'll own that property. When I first got into notes, that was my strategy: is buy notes to get to the property. And
Yeah.
then the further I went along, I'm like, why am I trying to get the property? This is so much easier just to handle the paper. So that's been my progression, but everyone's got their preference.
Yeah, so with the notes, are you buying these with your own cash or using hard money or using private money? How does that working with your, when you're raising money? You said you're a hedge fund, so I'm assuming you're
Yeah.
raising money to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I actually put together a fund, just recently here. I
Okay.
can't think of when it was, but anyway, recently. Anyway, and yeah, we're going out raising money from anybody who's looking for just a passive investment where they can throw it in there, not think about it. I pay an 8% return annual, quarterly distributions. So it's a fantastic way for people who are interested in real estate and investing to get in on, we'll call it safe. That's one of the words I'm not supposed to use, but it's safer investment because it's backed by real estate.
So for, the people that invest and that you give them 8% in quarterly, is there a limit to what they're able to invest with your hedge fund?
Minimum 50,000, maximum a million.
Let's say if I were to give you 50,000, whatever, 100,000,000, would you be paying me immediately when that money was sent to you, or is it only when you deploy it into like a property or a note or you use it?
You actually, as soon as the money is put in with me, then you start accruing that 8% right away. Notes is not get rich quick. It takes time. There's a process to everything. So once that money's invested, you start accruing right away. Payments would probably only start the second or even the third quarter, and then we'll catch you up and get you paid up of what you're owed, and then we'll continue on with that 8%.
Interesting. Okay. Do you get a lot of money from people's self-directed IRAs?
Yeah, this is an awesome IRA investment where people can just set it and forget it. It
And
just makes so much sense.
do people usually ask for their money back within, a month or something, or like 3 months, or are they even allowed to, or are you saying, "Hey, if you invest with us, you need to keep it in there for a certain amount of time?"
Yeah, minimum for me is a year. The term of the fund itself is 5 years. If you want to take it out sometime, let's say 2 years down the road, I will pay that out to you over time. So I'll take a year to pay it back to you just to protect everybody else in that fund, so that there's not like a sudden withdrawal, and
Yeah, I was
it's not that liquid.
is that something that worries you with a fund like that? Like, if people all of a sudden want all their money back and you're like, "Well, I can't give you all your money back, we used it."
That is a component, but I'm not really worried about it because it's such a safe investment. Like I say, it's one where you just put it in there and forget about it, and it's backed by real estate, so it's very nicely secured by the real estate. So I don't get a lot of issues with that.
So what would be the benefit of investing in, a hedge fund that buys notes versus a hedge fund that buys properties?
I've got so many different options. I love getting when I first got into notes, like I say, I was always after the real estate. And then as I kind of progressed, I went, okay, but if I hold on to the note, I not only have all of the exits associated with the real estate, if I need to, but then I've got all these other exits that exist with the note as well. And so it opens up a whole world of additional exit strategies and just ways that I can make money without just being stuck up with just the property.
Wow. So for example, because I got a buddy, he's a syndicate. I'm sure he does the syndication with apartment complexes and all that stuff.
Yeah,
So you're like one level deeper, where you're like, hey, I own the note on that apartment complex.
right.
So if that apartment complex dude can't make the payments, I can do foreclose or whatever and own that
Yeah,
actual real estate, right? Instead of
yeah,
just the
exactly.
paper. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's another level, it's another layer of security that's built into it, and then it just diversifies over the whole portfolio. So it's not just one apartment complex that I've bought. I bought residential notes. I for myself, I'm just residential. So I've bought notes on 50 different residential properties in different cities and different states. So if that one city in that one state drops off for some reason, Detroit, loses more steel, but if something goes wrong in that one city, one state, it doesn't have a major effect on the rest of the portfolio.
Do you underwrite the properties that you buy notes for the same that you would underwrite like a flip that you would want to take on yourself?
I kind of, when I'm looking at it, I'm looking at as is value. So ARV is nice, but that means I've got to put more money into it.
Mhm.
And that may be a strategy that we look at, but typically not. Usually I'm just looking at today's as is value, warts and all, broken windows, shutters, whatever might have happened to it, but today's condition. So I'm not too worried about what it could be worth at some point in the future. I'm looking at today's value.
So if you own the note on a house that's in as is condition that's not very good, the owner moves out or
Yeah.
the person is making the payments and you get the house, what would be the move there?
Either it depends a little bit on the situation. If I've got a ton of equity in it, I might just wholesale it out. I'll sell it. I'll, call up a local realtor and put it on the market and sell it. Or more likely, I will just sell it to a new owner and create a new note and just get back to that income stream that I like so much.
So if you have a note that you purchased or you create one and the person that you had given that note to defaults and they're gone, does that mean that note's pretty much gone and you can just do a brand new one to someone else because they didn't fulfill on that note?
Yeah, exactly. So it's there's two ways that I can take back. Well, we'll stick with two ways. There are more, but let's stick with two ways. So number one is the foreclosure. Most people are pretty familiar with that. The purpose of a foreclosure is to transfer title.
Okay.
So me as the bank, I'm saying, okay, you've defaulted on your obligation. I'm going to take that property as part of our agreement, and then title changes from the borrower over to me. The other way that we can do that is sort of like a cash for keys where I can get a deed in lieu of foreclosure.
Mm,
So, the borrower says, well, I'm stuck, this isn't going to work. I say, okay, that's fine. Rather than going through the whole foreclosure process, I'll give you whatever, 1,000, 2,000 bucks, whatever. And you just sign the property over to me and we'll wipe out the mortgage. As the mortgage holder, I have the ability to just release the mortgage and cancel it. So it doesn't exist anymore.
you're a nice guy if you're going to give them money to deed in lieu it to you.
It's worth my time and my money because if I have to go through the foreclosure, that's time and money that I need to deal with. If I can just have them sign it over, it's totally worth my while to pay them the same as if I would have paid the attorney to go through that foreclosure and then just to have it done today.
Unless they're like, I would assume unless they're like super, super, super behind, right? Where you'd be like, well, I need that. I need to get that money, right? Or you probably wouldn't let these last forever since you're probably on top of it. You probably wouldn't let someone just be in there for like a year and a half or a year, would you?
No,
No.
no. When they come to me, that's the case a lot of the times. If I'm buying a non-performing note, that's very common where they
Okay.
haven't made a payment for 2 years. But yeah, if it's been paying and then all of a sudden they default, I have to wait by law. I have to wait 3 months before I can start foreclosure.
Right.
But
Right.
that's it.
Dang, that's wild. Have you got into doing hard money, like any hard money notes for I think that's notes, right? Like lending and then
Yeah,
creating a note on that. Have you done any of that?
I haven't on the lending side. I am looking at buying some hard money loans,
Ooh, okay.
but still looking at. We'll see.
Are those notes as well, hard money loans? And then you're buying
Absolutely.
that. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Wow, there's so
Yeah.
many notes you can buy.
So many commercial notes, hotel notes. I brokered a note once a few years back on a bowling alley. I mean, there's
Ooh.
notes on anything and everything.
Is there something at the moment right now for you that's appealing that you're like, man, I really want to get into buying those kind of notes?
What I'm looking at mainly right now is seller finance notes. People that are creating notes. There's a lot. There's a growing movement, actually, I would say, of people doing wrap notes where they're buying a property subject to and then creating a wrap.
Right.
I'll buy the wrap note, pay off the outstanding first. And if that's a brand new concept, don't worry about it. It's a little
No,
bit
I
of,
know what it is, but for anybody
yeah,
that
you
isn't,
do, I'm sure,
yeah.
but for those that are newer, you might not know what that means. But if you do, that's a fantastic thing to do, and you can do another webinar on that at a different time.
Let's do it. All right. Well, hey, Nathan, that's been awesome. I think all these questions I've asked, I'm interested about because I think the world of real estate, there's so many different ways to go into. I focus on wholesaling and,
Right.
finding deals for investors, which is, it's a good way to go. But there's also notes, there's so many different avenues. So what
Oh
would
yeah.
be one recommendation that you have for people that are getting into real estate right now? I just heard what you had to say.
I'm biased, I know, but come to the conference. Come to the conference out in Nashville, June 2nd and 3rd, and meet some people, learn some stuff, start chatting with people that have been around and been doing this for years. That is a huge key. Like I say, you need some education because it's not real estate, it's real estate related.
So how do they go if they want to go?
You can go to the website, diversifiedmortgageexpo.com. Tickets are there, and come and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got all kinds of really fun networking activities. We've got axe throwing, we've got ice cream, we've got
Ooh.
headshots, all kinds of stuff. So come and join us.
So why Nashville though? Out of from Canada, why Nashville out of
Yeah.
everybody everywhere?
You know what? When I took over the conference, at the end of the conference, we did a poll, and I was looking at either Houston or Nashville, and said, "How many people want Houston?" And nobody raised their hand. I said, "How about Nashville?" And everybody's, "Yeah!"
Wow.
Everybody loves Nashville, so sure.
That must have been easy then, huh?
Yeah,
Everybody want to go. Cool,
yeah,
cool. All right. Well, Nathan, it's been a pleasure having you on here. I've learned a lot today, and I know our listeners, our viewers have learned a lot. So, everybody that's listening, please reach out to Nathan. Go to his conference. I guarantee you'll learn a lot. I've learned a lot right now.
yeah.
So,
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you, Nathan.
Hey, my pleasure. Thank you.
Chat next time. All right.
You bet. Thanks.